Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to new guest, Caito Aase, about John Carpenter's They Live. Caito is the star of the Shudder original film Revealer. She appears in the film Black Mold and is a burlesque artist based in Chicago and Montreal. Welcome to the show, Caito.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to have you on. Like I said off air, like as soon as you volunteered, I was like geeking out. So
Yeah,
because I love the movie Revealer, and we'll get to talk about it later on in the
yeah,
episode. But yeah,
sounds great.
so yeah, thank you. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit. Just kind of intro everything. It's I'm doing this whole series on John Carpenter movies.
Yes.
And I've covered a couple here and there. I've actually covered They Live once before, but I'm covering them all in separate episodes rather than my original double features that I used to do. And for me, They Live is my absolute favorite John Carpenter movie.
It's so good.
Yes, it is so good and so relevant even to
Mhm.
today. Since it came out and to today, it is completely still relevant.
Yes.
And I think it's his next to last, I think, truly good movie. Like that's not to say the movies that came afterward weren't good, but that this is the really like the next to last really, really good one.
Sure, like the
The next one after
canonically.
that is In the Mouth of Madness is like the last
Ugh.
truly good one.
Honestly, when you put out the call for chatting about films and what films you wanted to go through, I was like, I immediately jumped on In the Mouth of Madness because I that is my favorite Carpenter.
Right. Right.
And I knew that it had been taken, but you were like, let's do They Live. And I was like, right. I forgot how great They Live
Oh
is.
my
And
gosh,
rewatching
yeah.
it yesterday, I was like, God damn it, Roddy Piper.
Dude, it's so funny because it like before him, as I was watching the movie, because I've seen it so many times, because I actually watched this movie when it came out. Like, I don't think I saw it in theaters. I think I saw it in cable or video, but like in 1988 when I was 14.
Wow.
Like this movie hit me even then. And it's continued to hit as I got older and I realize more about the world. And
Mhm.
but it's one of those movies that is just it's so good, so crazy. But like talk about Roddy Piper. When I was watching it, I was kind of going through like the IMDb trivia and stuff.
Me
And
too.
he talked about how he was the first wrestler turned actor.
Yeah, which
Um,
I think is incredible. Yeah.
yeah,
And he quit
absolutely.
the WWF to do it because Vince
Ye
McMahon was like, "This is dumb. We'll get you a better movie." And he was like, "Nope."
yeah, and then, like, the next person who got a movie was Hulk Hogan, and it was a terrible ass movie that Vince McMahon got for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, makes sense, and Hulk Hogan's a shit actor anyway, so
And a shit person too, so you know.
absolutely a shit person, so it makes sense. But Roddy Piper was both a good actor and a good person, so
From Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
yeah.
What a guy. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like that's kind of what I want to do is like I want to put this into the context of the time. Like this
Mhm.
is 1988. This is the end of Reagan. Like this is an election year when this movie comes out. Um, this is the tail, like I said, 1988 was Reagan's last year in office. And it's like I try not to get too political on this show, but you have to, especially
Mhm.
with this in regards to this movie. Um, Reagan sucked. Um,
Yup.
the 80s sucked because of Reagan. And the things that he did in the 80s still impact us to this day. And
Yeah.
it's made everything that we're going through now, the reasons for that is because of Reagan and
Mhm.
everything that he lifted and the restrictions and everything else that he did.
Yeah.
Um,
I
it's just
turned to
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I turned to
Yeah.
my partner when we were watching it because he's also a diehard movie fan.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, when I get to hell, first thing I'm gonna do is bare knuckle box fucking Ronald Reagan. I hate
Right.
that man so much.
Oh,
Like,
I think we're all gonna get in line to do it.
yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
We all get like a chance to kick him in the nuts at least once.
100%.
So
I just really love that Carpenter had like no holds barred in regards
oh,
to like this is about Reaganomics. This is
yeah.
about like this huge wealth disparity, this war on drugs bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
I just love how he was like completely ruthless and we knew exactly what he was doing with it. And
Yeah.
through the framework of this, this sci-fi cosmic horror alien thing going on, it was perfect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He was like that was one of the best things about this movie is just that it wears its message completely out in the open. It is not
Right.
hidden at all. It's not subtle. It is a direct fucking middle finger to Reagan right there in the middle of all that. And in fact, they even managed to open it on the weekend before the election. The
Mhm.
studio, even Universal, is the one who distributed that. They even at that time distributed it so that it would open on the weekend before election weekend, so that it would have its most impactful moment. And it was the number one movie that weekend.
Yep.
It eventually dropped off like very fast. It still didn't do great money. It did okay, but it didn't do great. But again, so it's just like a through line for Carpenter is that he does great work that does not resonate with people at the time that it comes out, but then hits big on video and in subsequent decades.
Mhm.
Um, which is crazy. Like, it's I that's the one thing that has always bugged me, that I've enjoyed his movies. Like I said, I've seen multiple of them not too long after they came out in the 80s and loved them as a kid. I mean, it's like I recognized Carpenter was a genius even then,
Yeah, right.
um but it's just his impact on film then, um like he inspired so many people. And
Right.
just I'm going all over the place on this one, but
That's okay.
but this movie's like it's just specifically its messaging. And the funny thing is that not only is it this great out there in your face message, but it's done in such an entertaining way that,
Mhm.
like, between the action and the comedy and everything else, it works so well. It's like one of the best political message movies that you could put in front of somebody and be like, look, this is like the literal message is right here on the screen, but you're still having fun with it.
Right.
And that's again the brilliance of John Carpenter. Is he was he always it's always felt like he's had his hand right there on the button of like the pulse of America.
Yeah, yeah, and to flip it and make it fun, like you said, and again, I'll bring back my partner, but he remarked while we were watching it, he said, no matter what John Carpenter is doing, he's always making a Western.
Yes,
And
yeah,
I thought that was such an astute observation of like just, musically, I think that obviously there's a lot of it in this particular film that,
yeah,
you don't see as much of in like The Thing, for example, but
right,
the idea of like the Western and how specifically American a Western is and how
hmm,
it's very specifically he's telling very American stories. I just found really fascinating to kind of put that all together in my brain of like, oh, but he's the master of horror. What do you mean? And then if you examine it a little bit further and go, oh, the horror of being an American. I say from Canada, but yeah.
yeah. I kind of feel like you guys in Canada have kind of a sense of how shitty it is here. So
Yeah, I mean, I am American and I am currently living in Canada, and
yeah,
it's always like people find out I'm American and they're like fascinated by it. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, that's why I'm here."
right. Oh, yeah, no, we live in a shithole right now. So,
You're gonna
but
get
again,
his family.
like, here's the thing though, like, to give okay, so my everybody knows who listens to my show, I go wildly off track all the time, so I'm gonna go wildly off track.
Do it.
I like, this is the thing, I still think America is a great country underneath it all. You can see
Mhm.
this just in what happened with the World Cup. If you watched any of the people who came from other countries to come here and the stuff they put on social media about experiencing America and the people of America, they had such a great time.
Mhm.
And that is truly what is the greatest about America is that most of us, the large majority of the people who live here are very welcoming, very open, very positive, very progressive people.
Mhm.
We are just unfortunately hijacked from a small minority that has power,
Right.
which includes the mega rich,
Right. And
unfortunately, who
that's
want to.
not a reflection of who we are
Absolutely.
as a people, for sure.
The current government is not a reflection of who America is as a people. We
Yep.
have been hoodwinked and things have been stolen, and I truly believe that. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories and all that. Although, John Carpenter's pretty good for that kind of stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
especially this
absolutely.
movie in a lot of ways.
Especially in this movie. I have a
But
recording question for you.
yeah,
Sorry to
absolutely.
jump in. I'm seeing a wave file when you're talking, but I'm not seeing one on the bottom when I'm talking. Is
I'm
it
seeing one when
in?
you talk, so it's fine.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah,
just had a moment where I was like,
that's
did we go 10 minutes and there's no audio on my end? Because
No,
so
it's happened to me on the other end too, where I've seen mine, but I can't see the other person's, and I've done the exact same freak out where I'm like, "Oh my god, is it actually recording?"
okay.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're
Thank you.
good. No, I'd rather kinda iron that out now than,
Yeah.
think about it later. But yeah, so alright, back on track.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just think that like America, underneath it all, we are still a very good country. I think
Mhm.
that there are people working against it, people in power, people with money who are working against that. But underneath it all, we're still a good country. And I think that the basic framework of it is still sound.
Mm,
You can see
mhm.
that by the fact that the country hasn't devolved into full authoritarianism.
Right.
Um, so, as much as it might suck, at times, I still think it's a good place to live.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it will get better. I think
Yeah,
I
it will.
truly believe that. So, we just gotta
Yeah. I
keep working
think
towards that.
yeah, and as like a parallel and watching They Live Again,
Yeah.
just seeing especially the sense of community, especially when they get to kind of this commune of houseless folks, but there's a lot of aid there. Everybody has a job. If you're looking
Yes.
for something, you'll be able to find it through this person. There's these people who prepare meals. There was just such a sense of community
Yeah.
in in a space where but we don't see that with like the ultra rich who turn out to be aliens, which
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me at all if that was what was happening now. But the idea that the ultra rich are the ones who are sick or are from another planet, and we don't see a community there. We see this big ballroom scene, which is
Right.
just bizarre show of wealth, but it's not a sense of community that we
No.
see where, even the 5 minute and 20-second fight between Keith David
Yeah.
and Roddy Piper, which I just fucking lived for. At the end, it was ultimately to like get them to team up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we just don't see that level of community support from these like ultra rich, which I think is exactly what we're seeing reflected in
Mhm.
our world right now, is that there's a sense of like those of us who are just kind of everyday folks are the ones who are coming together to create a community and a collective and be this like front line against whatever this is that's coming at us.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that ultimately that what we see in this movie is like it was a reflection then in 1988, but it's a reflection now, like 38 years later, that it is still what's going on. You have the rich elite who are controlling everything, who are controlling the messaging, and um and then you have everybody else who's underneath it. And in this, you're not really seeing a middle class. You're just seeing the low class, the unhoused people. And then you're seeing the rich and the powerful in this that are turn out to be aliens. Um and yeah, I think that's the Hollywood like metaphor part of it, the very light metaphor for it that lets this movie be entertaining and fun, and get the messaging across in a way that makes it easier for people to kind of absorb that rather than just being told like we are told, like people are told every day that look, this is not in your best interest to side with these rich elites. Stop licking the boots of these people and you know understand that this is a class, like a class warfare going on right now. This is not,
Oh,
we
yeah.
should not all be fighting each other. We need to come together to fight them.
Mhm.
Um, and you see it in this movie. Like, I really just want to kind of smack this movie in front of everybody and just go, would you just watch this damn movie so you can understand what's going on?
Yeah.
But, what ends up happening is they're like the guy. A lot of these people feel like they're the guy, who's in the beginning of the movie, one of the unhoused guys that later on becomes one of the rich guys who sided with the aliens. They feel like that's going to be them. Um,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so I think that's, unfortunately, like the correlation that we have going on, right now. But let's kind of go back to the beginning. Let's talk about Roddy Piper,
Yeah.
and his character. He's never named on camera, or even in the credits,
Yeah.
but he has since been called, like Nada or John
Mhm.
Nada,
Mhm.
um, and Nada meaning nothing.
Yep.
Um, because he's just a drifter. He's just a guy going through town, just trying to get a job long enough to make a little money and to just survive for a little while. Um, and I think that's a really interesting too, because like Carpenter wanted him specifically for the role. He'd already written it. He'd tried to get. I think he tried to get.
Kurt Russell.
He thought about doing Kurt Russell, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he'd already
Then he
worked
was
with
like,
him
"I've used him so many
so
times,
many
maybe we
times,
should
yeah.
switch it up," and
So I could see Kurt Russell playing this character. I
yeah,
think Kurt Russell would have been brilliant in this. But I think
mhm.
I think this is the interesting thing with Roddy Piper, is that he brings a a different kind of quietness to it that Russell could totally bring. Because if you watch Escape from New York, you know Russell's quiet through a lot of that. Snake Plissken is not a loud guy, and
Right,
so
and
go
there's
ahead.
a certain sense of comedy with Snake, like, there's a
Yeah,
certain sense of,
yeah,
like and I think Kurt Russell has like, I'm thinking about, like, weirdly, I drew on Hateful Eight, if you ever saw that film.
yes, yes, oh yeah,
Um, he there's something about Kurt Russell, like, he has a certain gravitas, and he has a certain tongue-in-cheek quality where
yes,
he's got this kinda twinkle in his eye. I think George Clooney also has that, where it's a little
yeah,
bit like a little bit wink, wink, nod nudge, nudge, which draws
right.
us in as an audience, and I do love that as a factor with an actor, but, with Roddy Piper, I think because he wasn't an actor originally, he was
Yeah.
coming from a wrestling background, there's just such a genuine listening. You see him
There's a
listening to his scene
humility.
partners. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Not that Kurt Russell doesn't have that, because I
No,
think he
yeah,
does to an extent, but I feel like Roddy coming in as, like, the kind of the unknown, like, yeah, he
yeah,
came from WrestleMania, and that's where Carpenter had seen him, but coming in as an unknown and coming in a opposite Keith freaking
yeah,
David, who is
yeah,
an outstanding actor of our time, and just being able to listen.
yeah,
His ability to listen to his scene partner is, like, one of the most generous things that I see him do in this, and I don't know, I think that it's a really charming quality.
yeah. And that's not to say that he doesn't have his moments where he is a very forceful personality, because there are moments where he kind of blows up, and he has those moments. And I think that's what's really great about those particular times as well, because he is so quiet, so reserved most of the time. He's such a calm person that when he blows up like that, it makes more of an impact. If you had somebody who's just like kind of like, talking all the time or doing whatever, then or has like a nervous energy when they're quiet, then when they explode like that, it would have less of an impact. And I think
Yeah.
that's what makes him more interesting, especially for the fact that he was a well-known wrestler at the time.
Mhm.
And those wrestlers even then in the 80s had these very outsized personalities, and so because they're performing for these big crowds.
Mhm.
And so this is what makes his character this character. And again, it's part of the inherentness in the script that he's got to be this quiet guy and everything like that. But it's just Piper carries him in such a interesting way. And when casting him, Carpenter wanted somebody who had this kind of rough look to him, and that's what Piper brings, is this kind of world weary, kind of beaten down, very rough look on his face, like he's been literally beaten by the world. Um, but at the same time, it's not a negative look. It's not
Right.
somebody who's been so beaten down that um, they carry that negativity through their personality as well. It's very calming, very welcoming, very friendly personality as well,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
he carries through the movie. It's just, he when he meets the guy at the work site and everything like that,
Yeah.
he's saying the things he needs to say to get the job. He gets the job. He gets to the homeless camp, and he's nice and friendly to everybody there. They're friendly to him. He carries himself in such a very good way. And like you said, that everybody there in that homeless camp just works together. They're doing what needs to be done to make it work. And I love that about this movie, is it just shows, like you said, that sense of community, that
Yeah.
it's not missing in our
Mhm.
current society.
Mhm.
It's unfortunately, it's drowned out by all the loudness that's
Right.
going on these
Right.
days. So,
Right. There's something about I was thinking about with Roddy's performance when he first puts the glasses on and is discovering
mhm,
what the reality of the world is with these glasses. And there's just such discovery is the word. Like he just is discovering it and it is washing over him.
yeah,
And it goes on for like Carpenter kind of has this interesting thing that he does with his films where like moments will go longer than you as an audience maybe feel like they quote unquote should. Like
you're right.
I think the 5 minute and 22-second alley fight, it went on longer maybe than it should have, but like I was thinking watching Piper's discovery of like what the reality of the world went on and on and on and kept going and growing and it was
Right,
he's tripping over groceries at the bodega, like all of these moments where you know contemporary audiences watching that go, wouldn't he reel this in, wouldn't he like try and grasp it and like have a certain level of control to make sure that he's not giving it away or whatever it may be,
right.
but he
Mm,
doesn't do that, and the discovery is so honest that
yeah,
I just loved watching him lose his shit, because the reality is if you or me or anybody actually put on a pair of glasses that let me see what the world really fucking looked
yeah,
like, we'd all be losing our shit. And I just thought that was so genuine. And I think that there's that discovery and that honesty through the discovery was just really compelling to watch.
oh, yeah. No, I agree. I think it's interesting that it goes on for as long as it does, because I think that's more honest as well too, because you wouldn't put on the glasses and start freaking out like, "Oh my god." No, you would put on the glasses, you'd be like, "Okay, I got to is this everything?" And then you would explore. You would try to figure that out. You take them on and off like he does.
I just
You
love that he fully takes them off and then fully puts them back. No, he doesn't lift them up and
Yeah.
like he doesn't do one of these. He just
Yeah.
fully takes them off, fully puts them back on, fully takes them off, and he does it like 6 or 7 times. It's almost like a little kid would do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because it's only when he gets into he gets into the grocery store, he's still seeing the people who are obviously aliens. He's seeing all the products that are manipulating us, and everything. But then it's when he sees the people on the TV, the newscasters on the TV, when he realizes, well, that's because he's like, oh yeah, that's what it would be, and like that makes a lot of sense now. And so he realizes in that moment that, yeah, the media is manipulating us also, through the aliens, through the broadcasts and everything. And so it becomes this, that's when like everything led up to that moment. And I think that's where he finally snaps enough. Um, and then when the lady calls on her watch device to, oh, there's one that can see. Um, and then it's like, that leads to the cop fight outside. Um, and it's just, yeah, I love that whole sequence, because like you said, yeah, it does go on for a lot longer than I think modern movies would let it go on for, because modern movies would kinda condense that, And I think that's one of the really good things about Carpenter is when you're watching his movies, he does let things breathe, and not like in a way that drags things out. It's never dragging them out. It's letting them breathe with enough time to absorb it all. Um,
100%.
yeah,
100%.
I think that's what's one of the aspects of his filmmaking that is like fantastic. He just he's got great timing. Um,
Mhm.
Going back to what you were saying earlier about the western, this is his most western movie. The
Absolutely.
soundtrack
Mhm.
alone is it was one of my favorite soundtracks, but the soundtrack is very tinged with this western feel to it as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
he's a
he's always
huge
dusty, he's got the boot cut
yeah
jeans, he's got
yeah
a flannel on, a mullet, like, it just
yeah
lends itself to that.
yeah yeah. The only thing missing is the cowboy hat.
Yeah,
Um,
truly.
Carpenter is a huge fan of the director Howard Hawks, who made a
Mhm.
ton of old school westerns back in the day, and so that's kind of what he's always wanted to make a western, but he never got to,
Mhm.
and so he kind of infused most of his movies with some kind of western feeling to them in some ways,
Right. Right.
some more so than others. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I think it's interesting too that filmmakers have gone back and kind of honored that in a way. Like you said with The Hateful Eight, Quentin
Mhm.
Tarantino very much did a western in the kind of form of the thing. Um,
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
and kind of went back and kind of combined both of those aspects of that. Um, but this movie, like it's j- going back to his performance, like,
Mhm.
once he gets through with the cops and everything like that, he gets to the bank and,
Yeah.
we get the most iconic line from the movie. Uh,
Which was improvised.
it wasn't improvised. He showed Carpenter the line, like, he had a bunch of lines for things
For
that he
cutting
wanted to
promo, right?
do. Yeah, for he
Yeah.
wanted to do it in, wrestling, in his
Yep.
wrestling stuff, and so it was a bunch of lines from wrestling, and, Carpenter saw it, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Let's use that one." So, I
Just
love
his
that.
delivery too. He was
Yeah.
just so measured,
Yes.
like, it's
It's
so
so
good.
perfect. It's like it's one of the most, like, up to like, next to "I'll be back"
Yeah.
and some of the other lines from the '80s, it's just, oh, man, it's one of the most iconic lines of the '80s,
Yep.
and you instantly
100%.
know where it's from.
Right.
Um,
Just the fact that the cop fight, he gets all of the guns and then just goes into a fucking bank. I was like,
yeah,
no planning, no, "Hey, I need to get my forces together. We need to come up with a
yeah.
contingency plan." He was like, "Nah, balls in. Let's
No,
go."
he's just all in. He's like, after after the grocery store and after the cop fight, he's like, "Fuck it, we're going now. Like, this is this is where we go now. This is all we're doing." And which is great, but also at the same time is the most stupid ass thing to do. Um, but it makes for a great sequence. It makes for a great line. And then but it kind of barrels through after this point.
Yeah. I
But I want to
found
go
it
back. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I found it really interesting that the bank is really revealing for who amongst us are aliens, of
Mhm.
like the manager of the bank, but not all cops, but a lot of cops. Like
Mhm.
we can always pinpoint the rich white lady in the furs with the diamonds,
Right.
but like Meg Foster's character, Holly Thompson, is not one,
Not
but
one, yeah.
like she's got this big heel turn, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
at the end, and like no one in the camp is one of these people. So it just was really interesting to me to see who qualified, like
Yeah.
who amongst them would be the aliens, and like how this yeah, I found that really fascinating, of like we didn't walk into a bank and every teller was one of these
Right.
aliens. It was just like this kind of where do they fall in all
Yeah.
of it.
And I don't remember if, like, I'd have to look at it again because I wasn't paying that much attention to it, but, like, if I don't know if any of the tellers were aliens, because then again, that wouldn't have been the smart play there because, the tellers would just be workers. Why would they be working there? They wouldn't be in any kind of control. You've got to imagine that most, if not all of the aliens in the world would be people in power, people with money. Um, so they wouldn't be anybody low level. You would never see them in
Right.
any kind of low level job. Um, Anybody who works with them who is a collaborator, like the
Right.
cops,
The cops, yeah.
and anybody who is, any of the rich people, then yeah, you would suspect. Um, Holly Thompson, yeah, she doesn't turn out to be one of them, but ends up, like you said, having that heel turn in the end, and then has um this and turns out to be, and it's so interesting too because I don't quite understand the heel turn at the
Right,
end,
me neither.
because she seems to be like she's collaborator from the beginning, and then when she pops up at the meeting um that gets stormed, um maybe she helps is helping the cops there and kind of bringing down the tension or something like that. Um, but I don't know if that's the only confusing part of the movie for me,
Yeah,
is her
yeah.
motivations through any of it.
I
Um,
mean, she throws him through a plate glass door, and that was my first indication of like, no, no, no way.
yeah,
She's got to be one of them.
yeah,
But then to have the heel turn first come in the form of her taking out Keith David,
yeah,
which just like is such a plot twist, and then her to be on the roof, and then to have
yeah,
Nada's character like immediately recognize, oh, she's gonna foil the whole plan. She
yeah.
reminds me a lot of Julia in Hellraiser.
Okay,
Both, like, physically, they're very
yeah,
similar, but, like, just who she is and what her motivations, obviously, Julia's motivations from the jump were all like,
yeah,
"Okay, yeah, we
yeah.
get it. You wanna bring your horny boyfriend back, we get it." But, like,
Right, right.
the self-serving aspect of it reminded me a lot of Julia from Hellraiser, and I was so curious as to why.
I think the interesting thing, like for me, I suspect that there was never a heel turn. She was always a collaborator. That when
Ooh,
she
yeah.
shows up in the middle of that, after she knocks him out the window, and she shows up and she's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't, I just wasn't sure." Blah blah blah. I think that's all a ruse. I think she's just there to help stall them for the cops to storm.
Yeah, like,
Um,
she's in the pocket of all of
yeah,
it, like, I'm sure based off the fact that she lives alone in that type of
yeah,
home in Los Angeles, like, in the Hollywood Hills,
yeah,
like, she's
yeah,
getting money from these aliens in order to keep this station
yeah.
alive.
Well, and it doesn't make sense otherwise, like, throwing him out the window. Like, don't get me wrong, I get that she, was kidnapped and everything like that. She'd do anything to make sure she stays alive. But, it's just to have the heel turn at the end just doesn't make sense without her just being a collaborator from the beginning, in my opinion. So
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just
yeah, that whole beginning when she gets kidnapped, I'm like,
yeah,
this is so like, we are supposed to be on Roddy's side for it, but, like, for the whole film, basically, but
yeah,
when he kidnaps her and just, like, that whole sequence of events, I'm like, "Yeah, if someone did that to me, I would throw them through a glass door too."
yeah,
Like, that's just bottom
absolutely.
line.
Yeah. Yeah, because she doesn't know his ultimate intentions and everything. So it's kind of hard to, ascertain exactly, because he could just be saying what he wants to say. But like you can tell he's n- having a hard time. Those glasses wiped him out. And so he's obviously, not at his best at that moment either. So it wouldn't take much to obviously take him down like she does. So um that just I don't know. It's just it's interesting. it's a, it's a it's an interesting character. Meg Foster is an interesting actress too.
Mhm, mhm.
Those like light blue eyes of hers always like are crazy to me.
Yeah, she's got an eeriness to her,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
like, how she looks is
Yeah.
a bit eerie, and I think it lends itself very well to, can we trust her or not?
Right. It lends itself very well to like villainy,
Yeah.
like to like very villainous roles. Cause like it's so funny too, because you'd think that somebody with like nice light blue eyes like that would be like somebody nice and everything. But and anytime you see her, and maybe it's just her face also combined with those eyes.
With the red lips too.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I don't know. She always seems like she's a villain anytime I've seen her. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen her in a lot other than this and maybe the Masters of the Universe movie, which she plays a villain in.
Yeah, sure.
Um, the original Masters of the Universe villain movie. But yeah, it's just weird. But let's go back and talk about Keith David because
Yeah,
he's
my
he's
boy. I love him so
yeah,
much. Do you know his
love Keith David.
Instagram handle is Silverthroat?
Yes, yeah.
I just
It,
thought that was the
it's
best thing
perfect.
ever.
Perfect. Dude's got a voice like butter.
Yeah.
So,
I
um,
I could spend an entire podcast on Keith David alone.
yeah.
I absolutely love him. I first understood who he was contextually. I was born after They Live came out. Um but I am a cool person anyway. But Keith David was
You're just not old
the
like me.
I'm um Keith David was the voice of Lord Akoto in the American dub of Princess Mononoke,
Okay.
and that very deep cut. And that is one of the only English dubs that I will listen to
Yeah.
because they very specifically chose their actors. And Keith David plays the like boar god, and I remember hearing his voice. His voice is so distinctive. I'm a huge podcast buff, so like he comes up all through these horror things,
Yeah.
and then as a teenager, like synthesizing and putting it all together of who Keith David was, and then as an adult who is very into horror now, getting to look back at Keith David as an artist, but specifically as someone who's in horror.
Yeah. He's a
He
horror
was recently in
icon.
Shelby Oaks, which
Yeah.
is, some of the film fam who worked on Revealer and Black Mold did Shelby
Mm.
Oaks. And
I like Shelby
um,
Oaks.
I think Keith David is a really great actor,
Oh,
and I think
absolutely.
he deserves all of the good things that he gets. So
No, I agree with you completely. I think he's fantastic. I'm trying to remember. Like, I know I saw The Thing when it came out originally in 1982. Because again, I'm old, and um, but so I remember seeing that in the theater. I was 8 years old when that came out. Um, but being 8, I had no grasp at that time. Being 14 when this movie came out, when They Live came out, I had a slightly better grasp. But again, even then, I don't think he was like he wasn't Keith David like he is today.
sure.
Because he's had a ginormous career in and out of horror.
Yeah.
And so he's just he's become one of those favorite actors. And I defy anybody to say a bad thing about Keith David. Like, don't get me wrong, like there are actors that I don't like that people love,
Sure.
but I just think that Keith David is one of those actors that I don't think anybody hates. So
Yeah, I don't know anybody who does hate him, and if they did
yeah,
hate him, I'd be like, "I think you're wrong," and,
right.
like, we're gonna move on because you're wrong. Um,
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah.
yeah, he's just masterful. It's one of those, I'm my initial background before I got into film acting and horror acting specifically, is in theater. I'm actually the reason I'm in Montreal now is because I'm back in theater school because why not get a degree in your mid late 30s? Um,
There's
and
never a bad time.
there's never a bad time. There's never a bad time to go back to school. Um, but a lot of my focus, one of my very first loves is Shakespeare, and
Mm,
I would die to see Keith David in a production of Shakespeare, whether that be Lear or Oberon or any of these really commanding
yeah.
Shakespearean roles. I just would love to see him in
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just imagine Keith David as Hamlet, man. And
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine his Prospero in The Tempest? Like I could just
oh, yeah.
I have a list as long as my leg of all the roles I want to see him in. He'd be a great bottom in Midsummer. Okay, sorry. Stop.
Oh man. I
Nerd.
prefer I admit I am not a huge Shakespearean person.
That's okay.
my wife is more of the Shakespeare fan. She loves Shakespeare.
That's
So,
awesome.
but I think she would also agree that he would be great in pretty much anything as well. Yeah, he's just one of those great actors. He was just on a show that I was watching. It was on HBO. It was called Duster.
Ooh,
Um,
cool.
and it was one season. It was a J.J. Abrams show that he did, but it was delayed. And then when it came out, it's like I guess it didn't do well enough. I thought
Oh,
it was good. It
bummer.
was set in the 70s.
Mhm.
Um, Keith David was this kind of crime boss guy, and uh, it was really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of fun. But they canceled it after the one season because nobody else was watching it but me apparently. So
God, that isn't that just the way?
I
I
know.
miss
I
when
just
they just, like, let TV shows kind of run to see how they actually did rather than, you know,
yeah.
so
You would think, but I guess I don't know. Maybe because that one had already run its course, that they were like, all right, it's already been filmed. It's been a while since we were able to do it. Maybe it wouldn't be easy to get everybody back together or
yeah.
something. I don't
I'm
know.
not I'm still bitter about Glow being canceled, so we'll die on this
That
hill.
got like 3 seasons though, right?
I know, but I was mad.
I it's been on my watch list. I still haven't watched it. I used to
I had
love the Glow, like the actual Glow
the
wrestlers when
actual
I was a
yeah.
kid.
I would be
I
very interested to hear complete diversion from what we're talking about, but it's about wrestling and Roddy Piper's in this
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
I would be very interested to hear your take on it. I didn't watch Glow growing up because it wasn't
yeah,
on when I was around, but
yeah,
when I was a kid. But I found it to be a very interesting TV series. The juxtaposition of Betty Gilpin and Allison Brie opposite each other,
yeah,
like friends, frenemies, this whole it's really, really interesting. It's very, very good acting, and
yeah.
I'm always on the lookout for very good acting. So
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
yeah.
No, and it's yeah, I watched I watched the original Glow wrestling when it was out in the 80s. And that was because I didn't watch regular wrestling. I never cared for regular dudes hitting each other wrestling. But the women hitting each other, obviously, teenage boy at the time,
Sure.
that was more attractive to me than
Yeah.
the dudes hitting on each other. I've never been like a sports guy, so like
It's
most
okay. Yeah.
sports things don't appeal to me.
Yeah.
And I know wrestling's not really sport, it's an
But they
entertainment.
are still athletes.
They
For
are, no,
sure.
absolutely,
Yeah.
no, I won't say a bad word about
Yeah.
wrestling, it's just
But it's
never
yeah,
appealed
in
to me.
terms of
Yeah,
sport versus spectacle.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
yeah,
but
and
like, yeah,
go ahead.
glow seemed to be like, even at that time, glow seemed more honest,
Sure.
that they were
Sure.
pretending and they were having fun and they were just doing it, for the entertainment aspect. Whereas like in the 80s, they were still trying to claim real wrestling, male wrestling, not real wrestling, but male wrestling was a real
Right.
sport and everything.
The
So
kayfabe and all
yeah,
of that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I do I used to be a pretty avid wrestling watcher and now I'm not. I've fallen off just A because TV is way too fucking expensive to pay for.
Yeah.
But B because one of the biggest things that I think has been a letdown as a wrestling fan is just seeing how undersupported women's divisions are and
Mm,
f- women femme wrestlers are just so fucking badass.
yeah.
Rhea Ripley could do anything she wants to me. She's, this like resurgence of the muscle mommy. Like we're all just here for it. I'm here
Right,
for
right,
it.
right.
So, but
No, like,
I go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, no,
No,
no,
no,
go
no.
ahead.
No, no, you please. I was trying to bring it back to Roddy Piper, but I couldn't because I was thinking about Rhea Ripley. So.
That's the funny thing is, like, I haven't paid attention. Like, I have heard, like, I've seen, over the years, obviously the femme wrestlers who are doing it now and everything. I hear about them once in a while. I do think it's interesting that the rowdy name
Yeah, yeah.
was carried on by Ronda Rousey.
Yeah,
Um,
which made me really mad. I'm super not a Ronda Rousey fan, but
oh wow,
I'm from New Mexico
okay.
and
I lived in New
I'm
Mexico.
did you? Where'd you
Yeah,
live?
I lived in Albuquerque for 10 years.
That's where I'm from.
Oh wow.
How did we not know this? Where did you wait, can I ask where you lived?
I lived on
In
the
the city?
I lived mostly on the west side.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
lived near the university.
We did live near the university for a little while. For, like,
Ah,
a couple of years, we lived near the university. So,
look at that overlap. That's so cool.
yeah, that's so funny. Well, I mean, it depends on the years. I was there
Yeah.
from, 2004 to 2008,
Yep.
and previous to that, I was there from 93 to 99.
Yeah, that was when I lived there.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Is that wild?
That's
Wow,
so
small
funny.
world. It's such a small. Yeah,
Yeah.
you mentioned New Mexico, and all the New Mexicans are like, "I yes, let's talk about it."
Well, I'll tell you right now, I was watching the making of Revealer last night. We're gonna
Uh-huh.
get to Revealer later, but I
Ah,
noticed you were wearing a vest and you had a Zia on it, and I was like, "Wait, is
mhm.
she from New Mexico?" And I was
Yes.
like, "That's crazy." So,
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. That patch is from Meow Wolf,
I don't
the
know.
exhibit in Santa Fe.
I don't know
Meow
that one.
Wolf is incredible. It has since expanded to uh, Las Vegas, Denver, and Dallas, but it is in an old bowling alley that was
Interesting.
purchased by George R. Martin,
Oh, okay.
and it is this incredible art installation interactive world. A lot of the artists are people that go and build like the massive art things for Burning Man.
Oh, okay.
They change it. It is incredible. Like you just Google Meow Wolf.
Yeah,
But that's what that patch is from. So it
yeah,
was like it was a Zia, but it's like
makes sense.
their take on it. It's like a
Yes, Santa
multi-dimensional
Fe is
Zia.
the artist community.
Yeah,
So,
totally,
yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Different weird batch of artists from Albuquerque.
Yeah,
Um,
yes. Albuquerque is more the punk
yeah,
stuff, and that's where I got into, like, in the mid 90s, I got, into the punk scene,
yeah,
at that time, so,
yeah.
um, that's so
Albuquerque's
funny.
got
We
a
could
little
totally talk
reputation.
about New Mexico so much.
I know.
Um,
That's what this podcast turns into. But I was gonna say I'm not a Holly Holmes stan insofar as like her politics are really dicey and I don't support that. But
yeah.
when she broke Ronda Rousey's jaw because Ronda Rousey is a terrible turf of a person,
Who's she? Okay.
she's
Uh,
awful.
great.
I definitely was applauding and being like, "Yay, New Mexico." So all of that to be said, it did make me mad that she got the rowdy name.
Yeah. Now
Um,
I hate it. I
I
thought it was
know,
cool
I'm
at first,
sorry, I
but now
really
I hate
ruined
it.
it. I'm really,
No,
really
no,
sorry.
it's fine. I've never
Um,
been that big of a Rousey fan. I thought she was okay. I didn't know that other stuff about her. Now I hate her. Um,
she well,
but,
she definitely
uh,
said some I'm gonna get so much flack from all your fans. They're gonna be like, "That's
ah,
wrong, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "This is just what I heard however long ago."
it's all good.
Whatever.
Now my
Do not
fans
be
are
in my DMs yelling at me, I will block you.
my fans are right. My fans are used to me throwing out hot takes left and right anyway, so it doesn't
Okay.
fucking matter.
I was like, "We're going there on this one."
Absolutely. No, like, so, like, they recently had that Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano fight, and,
Mhm.
Carano got her ass kicked hard. But
Yeah.
Carano's a terrible person too, so I didn't feel bad.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
now that I know
Yeah.
Rousey's also a terrible person, now I'm like, "Well, shit,
I know.
now it doesn't matter who won."
It's
So,
like, never meet your heroes. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Thankfully, I was never that big into
Yeah.
either one of them, so, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, New Mexico all the way. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like, here's the interesting thing about New Mexico. When I was there, I wanted to be out of it so bad.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't really dig being there, but
Mhm.
since I left, I consider the 10 years that I lived there, because I lived there in a combined 10 years, I consider it my hometown,
I love that.
now,
Yeah.
because when I lived there, it was my early 20s. I met my wife there, we had our son there,
Mhm.
and then, we moved up to Colorado for 5 years and then moved back to New Mexico for another 4 years. Um, it just I don't know, it's always just been like, and we both of us had family there.
Mhm.
A lot of our family has either moved or unfortunately passed.
Mhm.
Um, and so we don't have as much out there now. But we did get to go back last year, and we went and visited the family that we do still get along with. Um, and it was nice to be out there. It changes so rapidly there
I
too. It's
know.
insane, like, especially on the west
God.
side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
we lived on we lived off of Montano.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
nobody's gonna understand this at all.
No one's gonna there all the new there's gonna be like 4 New Mexicans who are like, "Yeah."
Right.
But yeah, no, it's It's interesting. I feel like growing up in a place like Albuquerque and growing up in the desert, and there's just like that vastness makes you a little weird and a little wild,
Yeah.
and there's a certain level of like, whoa. So when I moved to Chicago, and I was there for 13 years prior to moving to Montreal, I just was like, why can I not see the sky all the time?
Yeah.
Like, why
Or
can I not just,
mountains.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough now that I'm in a place where there's a mountain in the middle of the city, but
Yeah.
sometimes as someone who grew up in the Rockies, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is just a little mountain.
Well, and
So,
that was what was funny was last year we went on a vacation. We took, all of the kids,
yeah.
my son, my daughter, and they had lived out there, but, my daughter-in-law and my grandson were also there.
Oh,
We just
fun.
yeah, we got a big SUV and we all drove out there and we had a,
Great.
great time going up through, New Mexico and Colorado and everything. My daughter-in-law, she had never been out west. She's always lived over here in Georgia, which is where I
Okay.
live currently. Um, I've lived here since 2008, so almost 20 years now.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hadn't been out there in years. And then she had never been out there, my daughter-in-law. And so she was when we went through the Rockies, we went up
Yeah.
and when we went up through Colorado, we went up and we did a whole bunch of stuff. We went up the train up to Pikes Peak and everything else.
Oh,
And
fun.
she was having such a great time being in the mountains and everything like that because Georgia doesn't have mountains; they have
Mhm.
hills.
It's
So
true. It's true.
there's a difference when you see it. When you live in Albuquerque, Albuquerque's in a valley
Hmm.
surrounded by like mountains and
Yeah.
volcanoes and stuff. So it's just yeah, it's interesting. We've got wildly off topic, but
I know,
you know,
but it's okay.
gotta gotta talk about New Mexico once
Yeah,
in a
talk
while.
about New Mexico when you meet a fellow New Mexican.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's interesting though. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll have to talk a little bit off air about stuff.
that would be
So
cool.
that'll be fun. All right. So getting back to it, because this was
Yes.
all about
What were we
Roddy
watching?
Piper.
They Live, right.
Yeah.
All that full circle
Yeah.
all the way back to Roddy Piper.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, it's like character wise, this is definitely Roddy's movie. This
Yeah,
is
yes.
Piper's movie. He's doing this. He's the main character. Everybody else revolves around him. It's it's shared at times by Keith David for sure. Keith David is a
Mhm,
great supporting actor in this, but everybody else is just minor for sure.
mhm,
There's lots of great people in here. Like I said, the homeless guy that turns and becomes one of the elites later,
mhm,
George Buckflower.
mhm.
Um, he's been in a couple of Carpenter's things. He's a Carpenter regular. Peter Jason, who's the guy kind of running the resistance.
Yeah.
Um, he was
Gilbert, is that the
uh,
character's name?
yeah, I think
Maybe I'm
so.
wrong.
I'm always terrible about that. I always forget people the
I was trying
character
to
names.
remember. It was like when we first started talking about him, I was like, Oswald. No, who is it?
He's Gilbert. Yeah, Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
awesome.
right. Yeah, he's a Carpenter regular, but he only first appeared the year prior in um or the movie prior in um Prince of Darkness. That's the first
Yes.
movie that he does with Carpenter.
Also
Uh,
an excellent film.
oh yeah, definitely. Um so everybody's great in this movie. Like that's the thing. This movie is like so good. The concept, the core story is really good. So relevant for its current time. Relevant then, more so relevant, I think, even today.
Mhm.
Um, and this is something I've mentioned on previous episodes talking about Carpenter's work. The Carpenter himself, like the movies always feel like most of them, at least, feel like they still are relevant today, or they feel like there's no need to remake them because they have stood the test of time in a way that even though they may feel like they're part of the 80s or the 70s or something like that, that there's no real need to remake them. Two of
Yeah.
his movies have been remade and they were crap. remakes.
Which ones?
Assault on Precinct 13 and The Fog have both been remade.
Oh, yeah, The Fog. I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now, I don't mind if they try to do sequels to things. If they wanna do a sequel, fine, but I don't think you need to do a remake.
I'm
I've
so sick of remake culture too,
yeah.
especially like in this generation of AI. I'm like,
Ugh,
I'm
yeah.
so tired of remakes. I'm so tired of like recycled ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some stuff that's coming out that are like retellings, like the Odyssey's out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see that this week, and there's some other stuff that's coming out that is exciting insofar as like it's being added to the canon, but
Yes.
it's like we don't need to keep remaking things. We especially don't need to keep remaking horror
Yeah.
because it was effective the first time.
Yeah.
So like, why not kind of honor that? You know?
Right. And I think the thing with remakes is that if you're going to remake something that failed. Don't remake something
Right.
that succeeded. Something
Right.
that or try to remake something that maybe didn't succeed but became a cult hit. Don't
Right.
remake something like that. Remake something that failed completely the first time, make it a better movie, and then,
Mhm.
carry it on from that. Or just make a sequel. Like,
Yeah.
I think that making a sequel to something is better than remaking it completely. Like, word came out like last in the last couple of weeks that there's going to be a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Sure.
Please don't fucking remake that.
Yeah.
Make a new movie in
Make
that world if you want to with Freddy
Yes.
Krueger, but don't remake the first movie again. They already did that and failed.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
don't remake. I think one of the more successful quote unquote remakes was the Friday the 13th remake.
Uh-huh.
That did a good job of kind of combining like the first three movies in a way into one overall story, and it made it better in a way to like not completely copy it either.
Yeah.
You take the core concept of the movie and make it something new and unique. And I think
I
that's the best way to do it.
yeah. I would also say that in terms of remakes, I really liked the Candyman remake.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I thought that was
That one's
really
getting a weird critical reappraisal lately that's
uh-huh.
like negative.
Yeah, I mean,
I've seen that.
I I don't know. I think here's another thing, like having lived in
But I thought it
Chicago
was
and
great.
like
Yeah.
you spending a lot of time in Chicago and kind of seeing it
Yeah.
that as a second hometown, through the lens of like what Chicago is and why it is a character in the film
Mhm.
is what's important. And to me, that I found that to be an effective remake because
Yes.
it was deepening the story, it was advancing the story, it was telling the story through a different lens that is crucial to right now
Yes.
versus the like what I watched what a Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and I was like, why? You know what I
The
mean? Like,
Netflix one or
is
one of
that
the
what
other
that
ones?
was? Where it was in that weird like ghost town? Maybe
Yeah. I
I
thought that one was okay, but
did you?
I'm not a
Maybe I
huge
just
not I'm not a huge Texas Chainsaw fan in
neither am
general,
I.
so
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Jill Six would be really mad at me for saying that, but
Um, yeah.
yeah.
Um, no, I think they're okay. I don't hate that. Like, I rarely hate movies.
Mhm.
But like I just for some reason the Texas Chainsaw Massacres just don't work for me that
Yeah.
well. They're okay, but like I'm like they wear thin pretty quickly. So I think the
Yeah.
first one's fine. But I don't think
Um,
it's the masterpiece that everybody else does, which, again.
yeah, I'd be interested. I know there was a doc that came out. I might be wrong. Yeah, that Jill Six was a part of about like where they were interviewing people about their favorite horror things and why Texas Chainsaw was such a pivotal thing for so many people. And because it wasn't for me and because I don't get it, I would be interested to watch that in order
Yeah.
to get it a little bit more. Um, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm with you of like it takes a lot for me to hate a film. I have
Yeah.
like maybe 3 films that I truly hate.
Yeah. There's one I really, really hate. There's only one I can think of right off the top of my head that I hate. It's not a horror movie, but there's only
What is
one
it?
movie that I really hate that I think it's funny when people are like, "Oh my god, it's such a great movie," and I'm like,
Tell me.
"Really? That movie sucks." Um, it's not people have heard me talk about it before. It's Natural Born Killers.
Oh, okay.
I think that movie's a piece of shit.
Fair.
Um, I think there's a good movie in there somewhere. It's just not there on the film. So,
Sure.
um, I think the original script probably is better. But I don't know. So,
Yeah. I've never
conversely,
seen it, so I
oh
couldn't
yeah, yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
speak to it. Yeah.
Man, don't bother. Um,
Apparently, I'm not missing much.
no, no. Others will disagree with me. So, but
Hey,
yeah.
that's okay. They're entitled to those opinions.
If you want a movie that's written by Quentin Tarantino but not directed by him, I would suggest True Romance. That's a really good movie. So
Okay, okay.
yeah.
I'll check it out.
It's it's interesting too because True Romance and Natural Born Killers were originally one big script. And then he
Ooh,
cut
and
them
they
in
spliced
two.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. And then
or slice it.
and then he sold off both of them. One went to True Romance, one went to the other one, and yeah, Oliver Stone's the one who made Natural Born Killers, and it's um,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
Tony Scott, the brilliant man that he is, made True Romance. So it's a great movie. So, uh,
Interesting.
which
I'll
I
have to
covered
check
in a
this
past
out.
episode as well. So, um,
You all thought you were getting They Live, but guess what?
they
We're gonna talk about it
people
next
know when they
episode.
listen to me that it's going to be a mishmash of all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to go off on so many tangents. Um,
Perfectly acceptable.
but I think that's the thing. I personally, I think talking about this movie, talking about They Live, I think we've talked about all the major things we need to talk about at this point.
I would love to hear your thought. I mean,
Yeah.
I have my own personal thoughts and feelings about it because I think Carpenter, again, is a master of his craft.
Yes.
What did you think of the creature design for the aliens?
I think I think it's I think it's very iconic for what it is. When you see that mask, you know what movie this is. You know what that is. I mean, if you know the movie in any
Yeah,
way. Um, it's a very unique design. It's obviously just a mask.
sure. Yeah,
It's
because they can't
it's
talk through it.
yeah, it's not very well, like, they didn't have a good from what I understand, the budget wasn't high for that, and it was, like, mostly one dude in the mask. Like,
Hmm.
anytime you see, th like, the creature, it's probably one guy.
Hmm.
It was all, like, the same guy is what I'm saying, underneath the mask. So, I like it though. I
Yeah.
think it's a good design. I think it's very unique, in a way. A lot of people consider it very zombie-like, which I get.
Yeah. At first, it's difficult to tell that they are aliens until
Yeah,
it's like told to you that they're aliens, and I actually found that super effective.
yeah,
This also calls to mind a friend of mine. I know I said this at the beginning. Sidebar. I said this at the beginning of like, oh, we won't touch on burlesque stuff that much, but we will, of course. This is
yeah.
my fault. Just forget everything I said before we got on air. I have a very dear burlesque friend named Red Rum who does They Live act,
Oh,
and it
awesome.
is phenomenal. Like she is in the full,
That's
or
awesome.
rather, they are in the full alien face.
Yes.
They also do like they do a the Thing act. They do all of this. Yeah,
That's
follow
awesome.
Red Rum. This is promo for Red Rum, not for me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I remember seeing that act, and it was before I had seen They Live, and it was so iconic. And I was like, "What is this?" And
yeah,
then when I finally came around and saw They Live for the first time, I was like, "Oh, I get it now."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the, like, very scary masks juxtaposed with the just, like, white writing or the white background with the black writing
Mhm.
of, like, reproduce, marry,
Yes.
obey,
Yeah.
no individual thought. I just thought that is so iconic and something that Carpenter is so very, very good at.
Yeah. No, I think, like, I know that most people consider The Thing his masterpiece, and I do to an extent also, but I really think They Live is directly either equal to it or in some ways, for myself specifically, is the better movie. I think he
Mhm.
does a great job. Don't get me wrong. I think The Thing is great in terms of like the production and the special effects and everything like that, the sense of dread and everything. But
Yeah.
I think They Live because it's telling a very direct, very political story in it,
Mhm.
while also being super fucking entertaining. Um, it's it balances it so well that it is a much, in a way, for me at the very least, and people can hate on me all they want, but for me, I think it's the better movie. Um,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, it's just I love the movie.
Yeah.
Um, it's fantastic.
It's so
Um,
good. It's so good.
yeah, it's my favorite. It'll continually be my favorite of his works, 100%. There was something I remembered that I wanted to talk about the movie real quick. And now we forgot.
I'm sorry. It's all the
Um,
yammering I did.
so what?
It's all the yammering I did. All the
No, no,
yapping.
no. If I remember, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, but uh, but that is funny about the burlesque show.
Yeah.
I I've only ever been to two burlesque shows in my life. Um, and one of them was actually a Quentin Tarantino themed one, which was
Oh,
funny.
fair.
It
Fair.
was very good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. But yeah, my son actually went to a Star Wars themed one,
Yep.
which I was
Was it
jealous
the
of because
touring one?
yes, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Which I was jealous of because he went with a friend. He didn't want to go with his dad because it would have been weird, I guess. I don't know.
Sure. That
um,
was a big thing when I started doing my burlesque is like both my dad and my brother were like, "We're never seeing you perform." I was like, "That's fair." And like my aunt and my sister-in-law were like, "We are there front row, front row. Here's all our money." So
that's
that's the
so
best
funny.
part is when anytime I perform and they're around, it's like, yeah,
That's
they're the
awesome.
best
Yeah,
audience members.
yeah, no. Yeah, I would go. I just don't hear about. I'm not a go outer person. I'm not
Sure.
very.
Sure.
I don't go out very much. Um, but yeah, no. It's always interesting to me. The what I've seen of them, including what I've seen on your Instagram of the work you do.
Mhm.
Um, so let's talk a little bit about Revealer, which is a movie that you starred in, which is a fantastic cosmic horror slash like revelations.
Apocalyptic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of just and it's an interesting movie. Two women trying to survive the apocalypse in a way inside of a peep show booth.
Yeah,
um
set in 1987,
in
so yeah.
1987, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. I think that's the time period makes for a really interesting um part of it. I think it's funny too because I think part of it is a cheat. Whenever movies are set in the pre-internet, pre-cell phone era, I don't think it's a bad cheat.
Right.
I think it's an interesting cheat because you have to be like, okay, well, we're not gonna have cell phones, so there's obviously not, we can't rely on those to get away from something.
Yeah, I mean, there
Um,
were many reasons why we set it in 1987, one
right.
of which was aesthetics and music was a big part of it, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
also, yeah, and now being in the year of Baphomet 2026, we do have to navigate the fact that, like, if you set a film contemporary, if people don't have cell phones, you have to have a reason why.
Right. Yeah.
And we wanted to just kind of get rid of anything having to do like, we really wanted to go kinda analog with it. So we
Yeah.
wanted to get rid
Yeah.
of anything having to do with, modern day, things just so it kind of ups the panic factor too
Right.
of
Yeah.
how do people get in touch with other people,
Oh man.
and, I was thinking about, my character Angie, has her nephew on the other side, and there's
Yeah.
no way for her to contact him,
Yeah.
except for a payphone, and she's not going outside for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, and I think that's what makes it interesting too is like when you think about it now in terms of how we live in 2026. I couldn't survive without my phone.
I know. It's bad.
Like
We're all
and
addicted
then
to it.
I grew up in the 80s when we didn't have phones and then like I look back and I'm like how did we live back then?
I know.
It's
I
like,
know.
especially because, like, I lived in the era of your parents sent you outside and you didn't come home until dark.
Yeah.
And so
You
you
latchkey kid.
yeah, yeah, and so, and it's the craziest thing to have lived in the '80s when that was going on, when that was, like, the height of, like, latchkey kid slash sending your kids out to just, go do whatever and not come home for hours, and it also being the rise of serial killers, because the '80s was, like, really big, high.
Really rife with them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
between the serial killers, and then the satanic panic at the
Yeah.
time too.
Yeah.
Like, you would think parents would wanna keep their kids inside, but no, they're like, "Nope, go ahead, go outside and go we don't wanna
Right.
hear from you for
Well,
hours."
but if they're inside and they're in the basement, they're either playing video games, which rot their brains, or they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, which we all know is
Is the
Satanism.
doorway to Satan, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They made a movie about it, and it was supposed to be a warning, but then it was
Oh my
just
god.
way too
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, no, it's just it's hilarious to having grown up during that time period and having that kind of, like, I don't know, that life, and then, like, looking back and, like, when my kids were growing up, uh, they, um they had cell phones. We, like, literally bought them cell phones so that we could reach them at any time
Yeah.
when when they were outside. We sent them outside because we were parents, we were just like, "Nah, go outside and go play."
Yeah.
But we were also the kind of parents who were like, "No, you can stay inside, we don't care." Like,
Right.
do
Right.
what you wanna do. But when they did go outside, we were like, "Make sure you have your cell phone," and
Yeah.
it's just such a different world to live in now that I can't so it's fun to go back to that time period and, like, just go, "Holy hell, we were at such a disadvantage than we are today," like, comparatively in terms
Yeah.
of technology and how
Yeah.
you can reach people and stuff, so
Yeah. Sometimes, like, to our detriment of, like,
yeah.
God, the amount
The
of, like, things I have on my phone to just, like, brick it at a certain point to, like, stop
yeah,
scrolling. It's like,
yeah,
"Oh my god, we have no self-control when it comes to
yeah. True,
technology."
true.
But yeah.
But yeah, so this movie is interesting too because, like, if you're watching it now, you may not realize, I mean, this movie came out in 2022, so even then it was like a couple of years after it was made, but this movie was made in the middle of 2020
Sure
right after
was.
COVID happened. So this was like a huge, like, the way this movie was made was because you guys had to, like,
Yeah.
observe all those COVID restrictions.
Yeah, and
Um,
we were really strict about it, like, when I got the call, it was my friend Sarah Casey, who's a casting director. She's incredible. She's cast a ton of films in the Chicagoland area and beyond. But she had said, "Hey, I'm putting your name in for this film. It's set in the 80s and it's about a stripper who fights demons during the during the apocalypse. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Say less."
right.
So, but we had just gone in, I say just, we went into lockdown in March.
Yeah.
And I had a full existential panic as someone who's been a hustler for my entire life.
Yeah.
Like, I've always tried to kind of live the artist dream, which means I have no money and I'm taking every gig that I can.
Right.
And then the world shuts down, and you go, is my industry even going to come back? Is theater coming back? Is film coming back? Is burlesque coming back? Are all of these artistic avenues going to come back at all? And there was like a huge moment of panic. And then this film lands in my lap, and I was like, this is so bizarre and not how I thought any of this was going to go. But yeah, so I got the call. I did the audition in my bedroom, and we moved the furniture. I was living in a 400 square foot apartment with my now ex, who I'm still very good friends with, who I'm sure will listen to this and laugh because I'll poke fun at him at some point. Um, but we shot the audition, and then I got the call, and we did everything on Zoom, and then we did like 3 COVID tests each before we got into the car and drove down to Champaign-Urbana, which is about 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes away from Chicago. And
Wow.
we lived in a hotel for like 4 weeks. We quarantined. If you forgot your toothbrush, you were shit out of luck. The PA was going to go get something from CVS for
Yeah.
you and tie the bag to your doorknob and knock, and you had to wait.
Yeah.
And then they would leave, and you had to make sure that they were gone, and then you'd open
Yeah.
the door and get it, and, you were disinfecting everything.
It's
It was
so
wild.
crazy now to, like, think back on that time period because it was just so, like, bizarre. Like, I lost my job at the time, like, I was laid off and they didn't bring me back, and um so I was on unemployment for a while, and so I just didn't have a job because, like, nobody had any jobs available, plus everything was still mostly closed down for, like, months. Um and so it was definitely a bizarre time period, and I can't even well, and that's what's interesting too is because you guys were a low budget indie feature and everything like that, that you guys didn't have the same, I guess, restrictions that a lot of the bigger Hollywood productions had, um, because a lot of those couldn't start up, because of, the guilds and stuff like that, um, unless they met certain requirements for that. And it sounds like you guys would have been okay with that anyway, but because you guys were on such a small scale, so few people and everything, that um that it made that a lot easier in terms of minimizing a lot of that risk as well. And especially if everybody was getting tested beforehand and you
Yeah,
guys
we were
weren't having contact with anybody, then
Yeah, we were
um
testing throughout. We
yeah,
had a COVID officer on hand at all times,
yeah.
and yeah, it was a really wild time. And when you're filming a film about the apocalypse during what feels like the
What feels
apocalypse,
like
it
the apocalypse,
kind of
yeah.
fucks your brain up a little bit.
Oh, man.
But
Yeah.
we were really, really, really strict about it, and fortunately, we're lucky as well that no one did get sick at all.
Yeah,
And I think it was the stringency of our COVID protocols that
that's
really
awesome.
kind of
Yeah,
helped out with that. But yeah, it was just wild when you like, and it was the middle of summer. It was like mid-August, and it was
yeah,
so hot. Champaign, for those of you who don't know the Midwest at all, but the corn sweat down there, she's real. And
yeah,
it's so sweaty at all times. And we were shooting in a warehouse where like there was air conditioning in the front part of the building, but not in the back where like the main set was.
yeah.
So a lot of that sweat that was pouring down our faces throughout the film was like pretty real.
Right, right.
So, yeah, yeah.
Well, when I rewatched this, I watched the making of. Now I have the DVD version, which, unfortunately, that's the only physical version they have. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
RLJE is the people who put it out, and they only put it out on DVD. We kinda discussed this offline before, but, like, it's really kind of depressing that they've only put this out on DVD. It's never come out on Blu-ray, and probably never will. Um it is available on AMC Plus and I believe also on Shudder, but I'm not
Mhm.
sure. But because I know it was a Shudder exclusive.
Yep.
Um, and so on the DVD version, there's some special features, including a making of. And so that was interesting to watch because it definitely has um, some of that. Back footage of them building the set and everything like that in the warehouse, and it's like really cool because it's like because you think like just from a like watching the movie that you're actually gone to a location and you're you know going through that, but like I think that it's interesting that obviously there's the exterior of the location, but then all the interior is actually on what's effectively a soundstage.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It was really cool, especially, like, when we get into act 2 and we're all in the tunnels.
yeah.
That was, like, something like 8 or 10 walls that they would just reconfigure, and we would shoot different angles, so, like, the reverse on one of us would, like, then later become a tunnel that we'd cross. It was
Yeah.
just kinda cool, and it was, like, a little dizzying,
Yeah.
which was interesting as an actor because it's supposed to be this kind of, like, labyrinthine experience of, like, we have no fucking clue where we're going, and we can't, like, do an Ariadne string all the way through it,
Yeah, yeah.
and Yeah, so that was, like, really wild, and it was also really wild, so the first half of the film were set in the peep show for the main part, there's, like, the lobby, and then there's, like, these different doors down the
Mhm.
hallway that lead into the peep show, which was cool because we had actually had 2 booths, like, real booths, one was, like, a
Right.
telephone booth, and then one was the dance booth that I was in, and we could, like, offset we could, like, open the door and, like, poke our heads out and, like, look at each other and stuff like that. But the room itself, I wanna say it was, like, 8 by 8, and sometimes it was just me and, Rob Stern in there, and he's, like, crouched down on this, like, ratty, nasty rug, like, shooting up here, and, like, we were just, like, moving around each other as best we could, and, I did the dance
I was
sequence,
gonna say it must have made that dance sequence really tight
well
in there.
so the cool part about all those moving walls for the tunnels was we also had all these moving walls for the booths, so we could
Okay.
knock out the back wall.
Oh,
Um,
okay, good.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so when we first shot, the very first scene I shot when I got to set was this big dance sequence set to the Gunship song "Dark All Day,"
Yes. Oh my gosh.
which was the wink and a nod to Lost Boys, which is Tim Seeley's
Yes.
favorite horror film, one of the
Oh,
writers on
okay,
it.
yeah.
Um, so we got to do that. We got the rights to the song, which was so fucking cool,
Oh, I
and
love Gunship. Every time
I
I
love
hear that
that
song, I
shit.
think of that scene. It's
It's
just
so
it's
good.
indelible in my mind every time I hear that song, and I hear it a lot because it's on a playlist that I have. So
Yes.
it's just yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that makes me so happy. Yeah, and as a dancer, as a burlesque person, like, getting the opportunity to choreograph that whole thing, and we shot, like we went through it, like, 7 times, so, like, there are parts of it that we shot just the 3 of us, like, on a separate soundstage, and then we shot stuff in the booth, and we
Yeah.
were knocking out walls, and Rob is, like, pulling back and pushing forward, and he's shooting it was, like, this big ornate music video shoot, but it was so cool because we could throw down those walls as needed. There's a very cool scene, at one point where, we have a divider wall, and I'm up against one side, and Shayna Schroten, who plays, Sally, is on the other side, and we're, like, both leaned up on the sides of our booth, but what they had done is
Right.
they took the wall out, and they just did a dolly shot this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not cut together, it's like an actual shot that was us talking through the wall to each other, but we were like we could reach out and, like, hold each other's hands if we wanted to. It was really cool. It was a very,
Yeah.
very neat, very magical set, like, when we break through the floorboards in at one point and, like, I'm hanging on like this. There's, like, a crash pad below me, and I'm, like, actually kind of standing. So it's, like, having to muscle, and show that I'm hanging, and then we cut to us dropping down, and we're actually up above, and I am dangling, like, from, like,
Yeah.
aerial rigging. Like, so it's just kinda cool. I don't know,
That's too funny.
it felt really neat to kind of, like, patch all that together.
No, and that's what's fun about it too, is like you when you're doing it all and everything like that, I'm sure there's like all this like, it's you wonder how it's all gonna come together, and then once they get all the editing put together and you're just like, "Wow, it's just magical," just how movies are done and everything. It just
Yeah.
it's always so fun.
Yeah, and we had,
Uh,
John Pata as our editor, um, on this film, and it was really cool because John Pata wrote and directed Black Mold, which I was in after I
oh,
was in
yeah.
Revealer, and he he called me and he's like, "Hey, this is super weird because 'cause we've never met, but I know your face and voice really well because I cut Revealer." I was like, "Oh shit, hi."
That's
So,
so
he and I
funny.
became pals. He's a doll and he's an incredible, filmmaker across the board, and I think
Yeah.
he and Luke went back and forth on a lot of stuff, so it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie was, written by Tim Seeley and Michael Morrissey and, directed by Luke Boyce, and then, also
Correct.
produced by Aaron Kuntz, who did, the, um, Scare Package movies, so which I've covered in the
Yes,
past as well.
and Luke and Aaron were the showrunners on Revival, which was just season 1 was
Yeah,
released on Sci-Fi, and that was also written by Tim
but
Seeley.
yeah, and based on Tim
Um,
Seeley's comic book, yeah. It's a
yeah,
fantastic comic
so
book. Yeah,
yeah, really, really
yeah,
great. So, it's
yeah.
very cool how everybody's kind of really that whole group, the film fam, has really kind of blossomed and done some really cool
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So, yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I yeah, this movie I'm glad to get to talk to you about it because it's one of those movies that like I the first time I saw it I loved it, and then like each time I watch it again it's just fantastic. I love the whole aesthetic, the music by Alex Cuervo is fantastic. And then
I love him. He's also so nice.
is he? That's
He's
cool.
just such a great person.
Yeah, I love his music. Like his stuff is cool. This movie, the Scare Package movies, just everything he's done that I've heard has been fantastic. Um, and then what was I gonna say? The like you said, Shayna Shruten is your
Yeah, Schroten.
Schroten
Mhm.
is your co-star in this. Plays Sally, the kind of uptight religious um, foil to your uh, stripper. Uh,
Yes.
um, but I do think that's one of the things that makes the movie interesting too, is that both of you also have this underlying like layer to each of you that like
Mhm.
there is this surface. You're very cantankerous, very in your face stripper girl, but then and she's this uptight, very religious, like trying to save your soul, but like in like the most terrible ways. But both of you have these underlying motivations as well. Your character has a nephew that you are the unofficial guardian to,
Yeah.
and that that's your whole like motivation, is to you know protect and raise him and
Mhm.
everything. And then she's got the secret that she's a lesbian, that kind of fighting against her own, fighting the kind of her upbringing and her beliefs and everything like that. um and I love that aspect of it too, because the what the movie, like, during the course of the movie, like, it's the end of the world, it's
Mhm.
revelations, it's like the whole everybody's the rapture's happened or whatever like that, and you two are left there along with whoever else is left there, to try to live and survive. And that realization, while you're both trying to like just make your way out of the peep show booth, is like it's one of those things. It makes it a very entertaining but kind of very heavy,
Mhm. Yeah.
emotional in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I really enjoyed that aspect of it too, because you could have easily made this a kind of very throwaway movie, but by
Yeah.
having those very emotional beats in it too, it really humanizes the characters and the story in a way that you anybody could connect with in that way. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun reading the script, and Tim and Mike are lovely, lovely guys, and Tim, Mike, and Luke were also really open to the idea of Shayna and I bringing our own ideas to the table of like
Yeah,
line changes or line reads or improving, or my character might say this or do that based off of like certain life experiences that we might have that could be applicable to the characters.
right.
I was also thinking of last night I watched Queens of the Dead, the Tina Romero film that came
Okay.
out not too
Yeah.
long ago. Really fun. As someone who's in burlesque, I like have a deep love for drag as well, because our the
Right.
Venn diagram is almost a circle of who you work
Right.
with. Um, but I was watching it, and it's so goofy. It's so irreverent. It's such a send up, but there are so many heartfelt moments that like actually got me feeling a little misty eyed. And it was,
Mm.
Nina West, who's an iconic drag queen from Ohio, who's phenomenal, has this really epically tender scene. I won't give too much away about that film because that's not what we're talking about. But I was watching it and I was like, wow, this does remind me a lot of Revealer, because there was so much irreverence in Revealer. I'm playing a character who, one of the sentences I get to say is, you're lucky a coos bruise is all you got.
Right.
Um, which is one of my favorite lines. But, and then we flip it and it's like, these are very real people with very
Yeah.
real life experiences that are really hard. And, even again, in the year Baphomet 2026, being queer or being a sex worker is still a really, really difficult
Yeah.
life to navigate. And it's so fucked that it is. But
Yeah.
at the same time, because these characters are those things, we can reach a lot of people who might not be feeling as supported, or what have you, in this here day and age.
Yeah.
And through those, like, it's the humor and the comedy and the irreverence that like gets you into it, and then like the humanity that keeps you there, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, and I think the best movies do that. They balance it well. And that, it's I think that if you have that, it's just like real life. Cause like I think that
Yeah.
anybody can you in any situation you could be having conversations with people which are very funny at times and very heavy and emotional at other
Hmm.
times, and can easily switch back and forth. And I love that that's how the movie portrays it as well, because like n- even through this very hyper real situation and everything like this, they're like in a situation which hopefully never actually happens, um that you can still have these conversations and still have these moments which are very heartfelt, and which make you give depth to the characters, in a way that a lot of other movies of this kind don't always do. There's a lot of movies that are just kind of really surface, which again, not bad, but I think the ones that have this kind of depth are much better. And I love to
Yeah.
hear that they included your own perspectives and ideas in that, because a movie
Yeah.
directed and written by men and starring
Right.
women, it's always nice to hear that the women actually had some kind of say in
Yeah.
their own characters and stuff, and was able to add to that depth and
Yeah.
everything. So
And like, huge, huge shout out to Luke and Mike and Tim. Not only for just the fact that they were like so receptive and willing to have these conversations and make these rewrites, and willing to kind of like have it be a collaborative process, but especially when we were doing festival circuits. We did C2E2 in Chicago,
yeah.
which was great, and it was overall a great reception. And I just remember there was some dude in the audience like made a comment, and it was like, "Well, I don't understand strippers and lesbians, blah 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 blah," and like was rambling about like how dare women ever make movies, basically.
Right.
Um, and Tim just like without batting an eye was like, "I don't know, maybe this movie's not fucking for you." I was like, "Oh my god." Tim was just laying down the line with it. He was
That's
like, "No,
awesome.
no, you are not allowed to
Yeah.
take a shit on like women and femmes and queer people in film just
Yeah.
because it doesn't fit your idea He was like, it was great. It was such a
Yeah.
funny moment. I was like, damn, Tim, go get him.
That's Yeah, I follow Tim online. I admit that I don't see everything he posts and everything like that, but he's been very like he posts a lot of very positive things about his wife as well. So it's always nice
Oh
to
yeah,
see, like,
Paula's
whenever,
Paula's
yeah.
amazing. And his kiddo, and yeah,
Yeah.
he's very
Yeah.
beloved. And
Yeah.
when I am in Chicago, I do try and reach out or get together because he's great. And I haven't seen Mike in forever, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very supportive environment. Everybody was really cool. It was like everybody was so keen on the project. We
Right.
Because we were in lockdown, or in a half lifted lockdown, the only way that we could socialize was in the parking garage. But it was like an open air like parking
You guys
area,
had to
so
be
we would
like
all
six
be
feet
like at
plus apart. Yeah.
yes. No, we were taped out. We like it was all taped out,
Yeah.
and we could like sit on our little camp chair, right? And like everyone like had their little like thing of wine or like a beer or whatever, and we're just like shouting across, but we're like it was huge. So like that's how the cast and crew got to know each other, was just
That's
like
so funny.
yelling at each other from across our squares on a rooftop in Champaign. It was so funny.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it
No,
was great. Yeah,
yeah.
still good friends from that, so.
That's awesome. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear. Like that's, and I think that's what makes independent film, and not that like Hollywood films don't have, similar situations and stuff like that, but I don't know, like I feel like independent film really, creates those kind of families,
Yeah.
that really last, and that and then you can maybe work with again and again. Um, so, is there would
Yeah.
any chance you guys are gonna ever work together again?
I certainly hope so. A lot of the folks who worked on Revealer also worked on Black Mold, so I did get to do that.
Okay.
A lot of those folks also worked on Sin Eater, which is something that Shayna starred in after.
Oh, okay.
So we have had a lot of overlap with these folks. There are, without like giving too much away, there are some things that are irons in the fire that are currently heating up, that I'm hoping that we can involve a number of folks on this.
Okay.
I just can't say much until like 2028. Yeah, there's some stuff cooking right now, but
Okay.
yeah, I've got some designs for sure. Um, I am also working on, a couple other other ways of being involved in some film fam stuff that's like it's like a spider web basically, like once you start
Right.
here and like then you meet this person, and like I went
Yeah.
to Fantasia Fest and like saw Ted Geoghegan, and
Yeah.
um Jen Wexler just had her film screen here over the weekend, her most recent one. So like, those are folks that I have gotten to know, which has been cool. So yeah, hoping
That's
that there's
awesome.
more of that in the future.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, because I don't think you've had a movie out since Black Mold. Um,
No, I haven't. And I am also currently, because nothing says starving artist like going back to school. Um, I'm currently in the acting program at the National Theatre School of Canada, which is why I'm in Montreal.
yeah.
Shout out to NTS. There's a lot of really cool people and actors who come from NTS. Sandra O is an alum.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, I'm hoping that a lot more doors will open. There are projects I'm working on that my fiance is working on, and we've certainly got stuff cooking. It's just
that's
taking a
good.
little bit longer than I would like. So
Yeah, yeah. Because sometimes the wheels move a little too slow. Um,
yeah, yeah. It's I was talking with John Pata not too long ago, but he always says like it's such a miracle that a movie gets
oh
made,
yeah,
so that a movie gets made and people like it and it's good. Like that's even more of a miracle. It's like,
yeah,
it gets narrower and narrower. So
yeah,
it takes so I can't stress enough to like movie viewers, to like cinephiles, that like the filmmaking process is so complicated and so
yeah,
hard, and there's so many moving parts and so many things die on the vine, that
yeah,
the fact that we are able to get these films made is
yeah,
extraordinary. So that's another way to view filmmaking that I think
yeah.
is important to remember.
I think that's what's interesting about filmmaking in general. Like people look at like especially now, but like even back in the 90s VHS era, you get a lot of garbage that is out there, especially now on streaming. There's a lot of stuff that just, a lot of people are making really low budget, um really just, I wouldn't say that it's garbage, but just stuff that's just not, doesn't click or whatever like that. So there is a lot of material out there, but it is, like you said, it's very rare to get something, number one, made. Even that stuff that is garbage, the fact that it got made is still a miracle, because there's so many things against getting a movie made, like money and time and everything else, that it's crazy. And then getting it made, and then getting it put on somewhere. Now, don't get me wrong, because of YouTube and other things, the democratization of, and like the lower cost of of filmmaking equipment, being able to make movies on your phone, um, all that kind of stuff has made it easier and cheaper to make movies. And I think that's why you do see the rise in these ultra cheap things, or you get somebody like Curry Barker who made like milk and cereal like super cheap and then turn that into Obsession. You know, you there is this ability to do these things, but finding that audience is the key thing. Like you could still have the miracle of getting that movie made, but if that audience doesn't come over to you, it doesn't matter. And
Right.
so, you know,
Exactly.
it's so hard. And I'm like, I try to uh crowdfund movies when I can, things that
Mhm.
appeal to
Yeah.
me, like the works of A&P films, like Murder Size and
Yeah.
Only Fangs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff I try to help crowdfund, because like I know it's hard. Like, and
Yeah.
so, you know, getting that off the ground, and I love being able to be a part of that in even
Mhm.
that small way. Like my 50
It
bucks
goes
towards
so
something just
far.
helps something, you know.
Robert,
So
I gotta say, it really does go far. Like,
yeah.
thank you for doing that on behalf of like all indie filmmakers. It really does go a long way. Backing something that you believe
Yeah.
in. Yeah, it just like while you were chatting, I was thinking like, oh right, a project could go under during distro. It could go under
Yeah.
when this person had a conflict. You know, like there's so many variables
So
that
many
make it
things.
so hard so that when something does come out and people are so hyped the way the trailers cut, like you were saying about
Yes.
how the audience chooses to view it and what excites them, and especially horror audiences who
Oh
like
man.
I think horror audiences have very discerning tastes. I think
But I also think
film
they're also
watchers, you
really
know?
a lot more accepting too, because
Yeah, yeah,
with like horror is the ultimate low budget like genre.
yeah.
And most of us who are fans know that, and we're like, okay, look, I can see the seams, but if the passion is there and the story is
Mhm.
there, then we're there, you know. And I
Yeah,
think that's what
yeah,
makes it a lot better uh in terms of that, because you know, it's the type of movies that you see getting crowdfunded are very much largely like horror movies, and maybe that's just my feed or whatever like
yeah.
that, but, like, you don't see a lot of, like, comedies or dramas or anything else
No.
getting
Yeah,
crowdfunded,
yeah.
so it
Eh
really is, like, the genre picture horror and science fiction and stuff like that that get crowdfunded more often than not.
There's something so accessible about horror in a lot of ways that I think a lot of people I was not a horror fan
Mm,
until probably 2016. I was actually
okay.
really adverse to it despite how gothy and tattooed and punk I am. Um, because I just was too scared. Like
Right.
I found it too scary, and then I had an ex who would like slowly introduce me to things, and then I got hooked.
Yes,
And
yeah.
then
That's how it happens.
that's how it happens, and my first film was, an indie rom-com, and it was lovely. I had so much fun working on that film, um, but I have found that in terms of, like, being able to immerse yourself in a community, horror is the
Oh, man.
fucking best because you can go to I very frequently now have gone to Panic Fest because I've had films there, but you know, like I met people who were volunteer workers at Panic Fest who are like some of my closest friends in Kansas City now, and like
Yeah.
people I talk to regularly. And it was not there isn't a divide between like, oh, I'm an actor in a film and you are a volunteer at a film festival. Like that divide doesn't exist as
Yeah.
much. That there's like a lot less gatekeeping. There's a lot less you know, I mean, there's always fucking it's like wrestling, it's like metal. There's always people being like, "Well, name 5 bands." And you're
Oh
like,
my
"Fuck
god, yeah.
you, it doesn't matter."
But the horror community, I think,
Yeah.
is in like I think don't get me wrong, there are a lot of shitty people in the horror community, just like there are in every community. But
Correct.
I think overall, the horror community is a much better, more embracing community.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like I went to like I I've watched horror movies my whole life, and enjoyed them. Like, you know, really got into certain ones here and there throughout my whole life. But it wasn't until 2018 that I really deep dived into it
Mhm.
and really
Mhm.
got as heavy into it. And then obviously my podcast came out a few years after that. And then so but when I was around the time 2018, I was the company I was working for, I would go and work at conventions. I worked at
Oh, cool.
C2E2, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
yeah. But I also got to do Horror Hound,
Uh-huh.
and a couple of those other ones that are strictly horror related. And those were, for me, those were the best conventions, not just because I was a horror fan, but because like literally everybody there was so friendly and so fun that like the like at like some of the regular conventions I would go to, you would never talk to the people next to you or
Right, right.
like in the booths next to you or whatever. But like every horror con that I went to, like I would always talk to the booths next to me
Yeah.
and get to know the people.
Yes.
Like at one of the horror convention, I think it was a Horror Hound. I talked to the owners of Atomic Cotton,
Cool.
and the um woman that co-owns that, she ends up being in Xanadu Hellfire
Yeah.
by I can't think of his name right now, but she's in the movie Xanadu Hellfire. And so I love that, there is this like community of people who just like mix and match and just like,
Mhm.
you can make these, like you said, there's almost no divide between the makers of these movies um and the fans.
Right,
Like
yeah.
even like don't get me wrong, there's some stars who are just like kind of above it all
Sure.
and really kind of you feel that divide, but there's other people who are like um there's a local one. I live in Georgia. There's a local Atlanta horror show called Days of the Dead. It actually goes to several
Yeah,
different
yeah,
places.
there's
Yeah.
I know Days of the Dead has been in Chicago too, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so Days of the Dead Atlanta's been here a few times. I've been there a few times. And it's where I met Matthew Lillard the first time.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I love him. He's
just
so fun.
Matthew, if you're listening to this, can we be friends, please?
Right, right. Oh man, I've embarrassed myself so much. I've already told the story before, but I've embarrassed myself. I embarrassed myself in front of him like twice in the
Oh,
span of like
no.
just a few minutes. It was ridiculous. It's so stupid.
Oh, but I also think that, like, he's such a
Oh, he
cool
was the
guy that,
best.
like, he
Yeah.
probably it was like water off a duck's back,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
N-
man, Matthew
No,
Lillard's a
he
gem.
gave me a hard time, but in the like the best way, like in the most, the most
Like, yeah, the way that
embracing
you
way.
would want to get, like, ribbed
Yes.
by Matthew Lillard.
Exactly. But like somebody like Felissa Rose, who was there, from Sleepaway Camp.
Mhm, yeah. I just
She
watched that yesterday.
yeah, yeah, she's great. Like, I seen her and with the fans and everything like that. I didn't get to talk to her, but, like, just watching her with the fans and everything, it was just, like, great. She's like that's what I'm saying, like, in terms of, like you were saying, just that divide is so thin there that um just it's wonderful. The horror community makes these things so much more wonderful and embracing. And again, with the crowdfunding and everything else like that, it helps make that divide even thinner because
Mhm.
the people can feel, the people who are helping to crowdfund this can feel a kind of ownership in that movie, like
Yeah.
they helped get that made, and
Yeah,
without them, it might not have been made. So,
right.
my $50 for a movie or whatever like that, it may be small, but it was integral to helping get it made. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I always enjoy that, and um, it's great. If they'd done that for Revealer back then, I may have helped do that back then as
Sure.
well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it's just I love Revealer. I think it's a great movie. It's a lot of fun. You're fantastic in it,
Thank you.
which is why I really wanted to get a chance to talk to you about it after we talked
Yeah.
about They Live. So, but yeah, anything else you want to mention about Revealer that
Yeah,
maybe we didn't talk about?
I don't know, I just it's got such a spot in my heart. I don't You can't see it right now, but I've got, like, a little, I've got my, cassette tape of the
Oh,
soundtrack on
that's
display
awesome.
behind me, like, it's such a special thing in my heart, and, it brought me closer to Shayna and to this, like, whole film fam, and I think, I'm not sure if they listen, but, if they do, I just hope that they know how much they mean to me and how much it means to me that, like, people really do love this film and seek out this film, and like I'll
Yes.
get DMs on Instagram that they're like, I just watched Revealer and it was, like, or just people that you connect with because they are, I don't know, they're curious, and it's just this like weird and wonderful piece of cinema that we got to make, and I truly hope that there is more down the line, and sex work is real work, so
Yes,
meh.
absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, we're a sex work, appreciating, podcast here.
Hell yeah.
Um, and so when, it's I think, definitely anybody who hasn't seen this movie, you should definitely see it. I mean, if you're listening to this episode, you should have already seen it anyway. Come on.
Yeah, it's 2026. You had 4
Right,
years. So
right?
like TikTok.
Absolutely. And I have covered it before on my podcast. I covered it as a double feature with Glorious,
Yes, yes.
another Shutter neon soaked, small room.
I just
um,
love like pulling up Shutter now and like almost all the font is in pink, like hot,
yes,
hot pink. It's great.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Like the whole neon pink aesthetic is kind of invaded horror, which I'm here
I'm
for.
not
I'm
mad
good
about
for it. No,
bisexual lighting. Carpenter
exactly.
made it
Yeah,
very fun.
I do like the bisexual lighting. That
Yeah, I
is.
I made my fiance watch Mandy the other night.
Mm,
Like he's a horror buff, but he's not like rabid about it the way I am. Like he
right.
enjoys it. I was like, "You got to watch Mandy." And he was just like, "The lighting is so trippy. Oh my god." Like talk about like neon soaked. I was like, "Yeah, man. That movie's like a fucking acid trip."
Yeah. I like the movie. I don't love it. I do
Mhm.
like Mandy. I think it's good. Um, but the lighting is like, phew,
So
chef's kiss on that. Yeah.
delicious. Yeah,
So
Spectre
good.
Vision has some good
Oh,
visual
Spectre
stuff.
Vision is
Yeah,
good.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Color Out of Space is another one with that great
Yeah, that
lighting.
same gradient. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
so fun, like, especially with Revealer getting to do, like, what was practical and what was, like, color after.
Yeah.
That was really great, and, like, what would glow under the black lights or, like, what we would,
Yeah.
it was really fun to put all of that together.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. Yeah, it's, like, indelible on my retinas.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on to talk They Live with me and to follow up by talking Revealer with me as well. It's great to talk to you about this. Like I said earlier, I've been following you since Revealer came out, so it was fantastic to have you on and get a chance to talk to you about all of this.
I am so happy we got to connect. It was really, really
Yeah.
great. So thank you. Thank you for creating a great podcast that I got
Yeah.
to be a
Well,
part of. So we'll
thank
do it
you.
again.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to have you on again in the future for another fun movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
Sure. I have my NSFW account, which is the Helena Handbasket, TheHelenaHandbasket on Instagram. And then I also have my more SFW one, which is just CaitoAase on Instagram. I am notoriously online on threads, and I'm constantly just saying whatever hot goblin take I can come up with. Um, if you are at Gen Con, I will be at Gen Con this weekend, but I'm guessing this may not come out before then. But yeah, I am around on the interwebs. Go check out Shutter. Go check out Black
Yes.
Mold. If you want a polyamorous queer rom com, go check out Two in the Bush, a love story. Be nice to me. Don't DM me dickheaded stuff
Oh,
because I will
yeah.
block you. But yeah, I mean, I'm generally pretty accessible. So those are the places you can find me. If you're interested, also, I have my own show called The
Mm,
Celluloid Crypt, which runs at Folk and Myth on Twitch, which is just twitch.tv/folk and myth. We run right now. We're running every 2 weeks on Mondays. So next, the on August 3rd is our next one where I will interview my hot friend Julia about her favorite horror film, Society. So it's my
okay.
my interview show where I talk to my hot friends about their favorite horror movies. So
All right.
we're trying to do that every 2 weeks. Hopefully that cadence will keep up. But I do have graduate school, so
Yeah. All right. I'll definitely check out the socials and check out that podcast. And thank you again for being on. And we'll get you on again real soon.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
All right. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.